I'm Eric Wolf, and my experience in business peer groups has changed my life, especially my membership in Vistage, one of the world's largest CEO advisory groups. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a Vistage speaker on the power of marketing. This podcast is dedicated to the people who make those experiences possible, the peer group chairs. Every episode, I interview a Vistage chair who has dedicated their time to helping entrepreneurs like me succeed. My guest today is Danielle Baldwin, who is joining us from sunny San Diego, California. Thank you for being my guest today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for inviting me to be your guest today.
Well, good. We're all happy. I like that.
Everybody's happy here.
It's a great way to get started. So, how did you get started with Vistage? What was your entry point into the Vistage verse?
You know what, Eric? It was a giant accident. Dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
I had left the corporate world and wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I took a year to finish a memoir I was working on and do some executive coaching because I like that. It's like the good part, right? About being an executive without like the budgets and all that other stuff.
Right.
And somebody came to me and was like, "Have you heard of Vistage?" And I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm okay. Like, I have not heard of Vistage. I'm good. I'm okay." And they were like, "No, I think you would really like it. I think you might be quite good at this." And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I sat in on a meeting, hooked.
Just like that.
Just like that.
What was your last corporate role?
I worked on the strategy. I worked on a strategy team taking products from paper to market in about 90 days. Cool. And then we would grow them. And if they worked, which they only worked really once or twice, we would pass them off to the big corporate conglomerate. And if they didn't work, which was more often the case, we would kill them and start over.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being a fortune teller or a professional lottery player or something, I guess. Like trying to hit on that one perfect thing that works out.
Absolutely. Like over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Isn't it remarkable when you think about it? Not just how many ideas, but good ideas just don't make it.
I think it's kind of fascinating. And it's like, is the market ready for it? Do people understand your concept? Are you going after the right market? Like, there's so many things that can go sideways, even if the product is awesome and it's well built and it's people. I think most of the time people have good intentions. So it's crazy how it doesn't.
And I'm going to go ahead and guess that everything that you worked on at your job felt really well thought out, but yet, it's that one in however many that ends up being the thing, not all of the, you had to go through all that other stuff in order to get that handful of winners.
Yeah, I mean, I think some. So the last idea that I worked on was a Netflix for the Hispanic market. And so we had a studio in Venezuela that did a show for us. And then we were hooked up primarily with all their content that they already had, Venezuelan content. And our team consisted of a bunch of people that did not speak Spanish, nor were they from that community. And so not really having a good understanding. You know who likes to watch Venezuelan content? Venezuelans. You know who else likes to watch Venezuelan content? No one. Mexicans don't like to watch Venezuelan content, and Argentinians don't like it, and Cubans don't like it. So we had this great product that we were very excited about that completely belly flopped.
That just didn't have it. It wasn't made for the audience that it was intended for.
Nope.
Well, understood. And trust me, that's something that I think a whole lot about. But beyond that, so you were formerly a product fortune teller, now Vistage chair, but you've got a lot of other stuff that you do as well. And I would really love to dig in. We'll come back to Vistage, but I'd love to dig into the other hats that you wear, because you're also a coach, you're a facilitator, you're a speaker, and as you mentioned before, you're also an author, but I understand you're also working on something. So I would love to hear about all of that.
Oh. I I do. I facilitate for Vistage. I am on faculty, so all the new chairs that come through, I have the opportunity to work with most of them, which is super exciting because it is like spreading the joy of Vistage even further, which I love. And I do some private coaching, but my like the smallest atom of Danielle has writer written on it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am working on a book that came from a Vistage member about the emotion slash state of inspiration.
Oh
So
wow!
that has been fascinating.
And can you give us a sneak preview of what what was like the aha moment or the key learning that you what's the thing that you've learned about inspiration that you would love to share?
I think the main thing, inspiration by definition is fleeting, which is one of the things
Right.
that makes it so frustrating, right? It's like this shooting star that you have to kind of look up and grab. But there are conditions that you can set that allow inspiration to come in more easily. So there are three kind of states that you can aim for, which is spaciousness, both mental and physical, stillness, mental primarily, and then self forgetfulness. And
Mm-hmm.
these three psychological states kind of prime the pump. It's kind of like Field of Dreams, right? Like if you build it, they might not necessarily come out of the cornfield. Like inspiration's not going to be sprinting out of there, but it might. Far more
Right.
likely than if the field was not built.
Right. Because then Shoeless Joe definitely isn't going to come.
Yeah, then he's definitely not coming. Or
Yeah.
if he is
Yeah.
coming, he's like swinging through on like a total. It's not happening
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah. We're not going to get the magic.
We're not getting the magic.
Well, you mentioned, and this is something, of course, about inspiration, which is also kind of wild, but it it's fleeting, right? I mean, it's like it's almost like a Polaroid in reverse,
Ooh,
where
I like that.
yeah, well, it's so clear in this like in this one perfect moment,
Yes.
but then if you don't, it's like if you don't take action or do something in that moment, it just begins to lose clarity until it's just gone.
Yeah, it's interesting. There are these two versions of inspiration, right? There's inspired by, where it's like a sunrise or something in nature has a tendency to inspire us, but we don't feel compelled to take action. And then there's inspired to, right? And those are the moments where we see this higher version of ourselves or we see what's possible. And that's where we kind of take off from there. And that also speaks to the handoff between inspiration and motivation. So, inspiration is like this mountaintop where we have complete clarity and we can see everything, and there's this feeling of transcendence. And motivation is kind of like the daily march to get back up to that mountain.
Very cool. When do
Yeah.
we get to read this?
Hopefully either in August or October.
Nice.
Yeah, it's coming along.
Very exciting.
That is exciting.
And so you also, so in addition to in your copious amounts of spare time, you're also doing keynote speeches and things like that.
Yes.
What sorts of topics do you go and talk to folks about?
I talk about inspiration.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my jam.
So we got
Because
that.
yeah. It's like I did a survey and asked people where they felt most inspired, and only 2% of people responded feeling inspired at work. But there's this HBR article that came out a few years ago that shows inspired employees, meaning they align not only with the values but also with the leadership of their organization, are more than double the productivity of a regularly engaged employee. So there's a lot of benefit in inspiring our employees, but there is kind of this path to get there. And the first path, which I'm sure you know as a Vistage member, is to get y'all inspired, because you can't inspire others if you're not. And based on what
Right.
we've seen, especially since the pandemic, there's a high degree of burnout, there's a high degree of overwhelm in general for you guys as CEOs, but also over the course of the last few years, I feel like burnout is also spiking. So we have to pull you out of the depths of burnout to get you to kind of at least to the surface level, and then we can inspire you, and then you're able to inspire everybody else.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And yes, I have been that person at the Vistage meeting. I have seen it happen,
Yeah.
it's 100% true. You can't. It's like on the airplane where you're supposed to put your mask on first before you help the person next to you, and it's hard to have expectations of others
Mm-hmm.
that we don't have the capacity to give ourselves.
Agreed.
And it's absolutely really fundamental. I love that perspective too. So you get to train Vistage chairs, which is which is super interesting, and I would love to know a little bit about what that's like, because so you get these folks,
Mm.
and these are people who are coming to Vistage and to you already having had one and sometimes two or three successful careers.
Mm-hmm.
Is it difficult being somebody that has to give a person like that something new? And what have you found are the things that really make, who are the, when you think back on the people who you've met through the program, what are the things that the successful ones have in common?
When I see the successful ones, they are scrappy. So when you build your first Vistage group, it requires for some people to do something that they haven't done in years. And for some people, others, they never did.
Never. Yeah.
Never ever. And so there's a lot of mindset work that needs to be done because people, which is totally natural, they project, well, I never took a cold call when I was a CEO. Okay, well, that's cool. And I built my first group. Half of my members were built from cold calls. So like, totally get it. Very much appreciate that. And that story is limiting you. So some of the or if Vistage just built a group for me, I would be an amazing chair. And while that
Right.
also is true, I have never once met the group building fairy. So you got to kind of do it yourself. You got to do it yourself.
And some folks are coming from an environment where they're used to having a lot of things done for them,
Yep.
and of course, like, oh yeah, it would certainly be easier if you didn't have to build the group yourself. But I mean, that's not the job that you actually signed up for.
It isn't. And when we have members leave, right, we need to backfill for those members. So having that skill set developed is really important in order to be able to keep your groups full and healthy. And just really leaning in. The other thing that I think is really hard for most of us, right? If we have been leaders in organizations, we are primarily type A. We like we're very good at what we did. And
Right.
so we're going back into kind of this beginner mindset where we might not be good at it. We might fail, right? So if our fear of failure is pretty high, I mean, those all come into play and all things that we have to work through because it's tough building a group. It's not the easiest. I mean, I don't think it's the hardest thing people have ever done, but it's certainly not the easiest. So
Uh,
you just got to kind of lean
Actually,
in.
according to this podcast, um, the building of the first group is something that people have told me very often was not just the hardest thing that they did in starting their Vistage practice, but actually one of the hardest things that they ever did in their entire career, is building that first Vistage group and getting over that sort of fear of biz dev. That was something that's been. I mean, I would say that when I ask folks how hard it was to start their first group, it's almost universally like, wow, that was really hard, and I did not enjoy that experience, but I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, I think it is really hard. When I was going through my build, I tell this story in Chair Academy, my 22-year marriage fell apart. And so um, I was going from, mediation sessions to selection interviews.
Right.
And like, the not it was beyond desire. It was like a need, like I needed to launch like I had burned all the ships and like I had to
Yep.
launch this group. So there was like a panic, which was not helpful because I did not show up well in panic, as most of us don't.
Right.
So yeah, it can be really hard. And what we tell people is life still happens when you're in the middle of a build. We have aging parents, stuff goes on with our kids, stuff goes on with our own health or our own lives. And what I tell my members all the time is, hey, here's the good news. You get to pick. You want to hear the bad news? You get to pick. So
Right.
totally your choice. You launch, you don't launch, kind of up to you.
How many people have you given the burn all the ships advice to?
All of them.
Yeah. It's
All of them.
it's it's super important. How else are you going to know that you're fully invested?
Yeah, and it's hard because if we're not seeing success, I would say the overwhelming majority of us, myself included, you're getting job offers while you're building, right? Like,
Oh
so
yeah,
it's no shortage of that. And it's just like, can you keep the blinders on? How bad do you want it?
because you're
So,
time constrained as well,
yes.
which makes the challenge even tougher. It's not like, oh yeah, well I'll build up to it, and whenever it happens, it happens. You've got what, 6 months, right?
6 months, 9 months.
Something in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a difficult challenge, and by the way, props that's the first time that anybody has made a conquistador reference on this podcast. So I'm I love that. So tell me about your groups and what's great about them and how much what's in the time that you've been in Vistage. I'm sure that your learning has continued
Mm.
to evolve, and so I would love to hear about your groups. And I would love to hear about what your groups have taught you as a business person, leader.
I'm sure, like Eric, every freaking chair is like, my groups are the best. And I'm here to say it for the zillionth time that my groups are the best. I
Should
have a
have
huge
like a March Madness bracket that we can settle this once and for all.
That's right. Throwdown, group throwdown.
That's right.
Um, I do. I built my first group. I inherited my next two. They're all I follow the Patrick Lencioni Hungry, Humble, and Smart. We do deep work in those rooms. There's a high level of accountability, very deep love and respect, and a lot of diversity because I feel like as CEOs and as just people in general, we already have the infrastructure to like shout into our own echo chambers. And so I really want to make sure that in my rooms there is diversity of thought and education and industry and gender, and like every person needs to add like a little something different, right? Like international experience, or I'm B2B versus B2C, or I have a board, or I've got outside funding, or I'm an ESOP, or I work internationally. So there's
Right.
always like this huge breadth of difference in experience. The other thing I would say is that I kind of feel like my groups teach me more than I teach them. So the joy and the pain of being a Vistage chair, which nobody really tells you, is all of your stuff comes up. You get a mirror into all of the things that you need to heal
Right.
pretty much on the regular. So, oh, you are conflict avoidant. Guess what you're going to get? So it just comes up over and over and over and over and over again. And I think the thing that I hope that my members we've been really leaning into lately has been like grace. Um especially for you guys are very good at giving grace to your employees and grace to your family and your communities, and you're pretty terrible at giving grace to yourselves. And I am the same. And so it's been a journey for me of like grace. It's a freaking hard one, man. Grace is hard.
It's very hard.
Grace is hard.
When how you came into Vistage with just this one uh, based on witnessing Vistage, you said this is the thing that I have to do now. What what were in what ways were your expectations met or violated along the way as you then became a chair and now you're running your groups and you're taking on additional groups? What would you say has worked out sort of the way that you thought it would, and what was different?
I think what worked out the way that I thought it would. I don't know that any of it did. I feel like chairing is kind of like a little bit, it's like Space Mountain.
Okay.
So it's like the roller coaster that you can't see ahead of time, right? Every other roller coaster, like you got a good look at that thing before you get on it. Chairing, not really. Not really. So I think like the experience of chairing has been what I wanted and like way more than that, like in terms of the deep work you get to do and kind of helping people and like the crack of a light bulb. Like, oh, you see that light bulb and it's like, oh, it's so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think a lot of it has been different. It's like navigating different personalities, navigating kind of like how do I want to show up as a facilitator? What does that look like? How do I want to show up in a one-to-one? How do I carry threads through like what you and I would talk about in a one-to-one? How do I bring them into the room? Like how much is too much, Danielle? How much is not enough, Danielle? Like it's this delicate balance because I feel like in facilitation, we're pulling the threads, like we're conductors. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to make this like orchestra sound really beautiful. And so it's like you have to hold yourself back from like doing a like a horn solo. Like, no, it's not time for the horn solo. Like you don't do the horn solo. Like Eric does the horn solo. So it's been an interesting blend.
When when you're talking to people who may possibly become members in one of your groups, what is it that you look for when you're sitting across from that person? How do you know who's going to be a good fit and who maybe won't?
Um, I look for, like I was saying earlier, like the Lencioni hungry, humble, and smart. There needs to be a level of self awareness. So if I ask you, if I'm like, hey, Eric, if I asked your employees what you need to work on, what would they tell me?
Everything. Absolutely.
Everything,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. D plus.
D, D plus. That's it. D plus. So you know everything. My guess would be if I asked you, you would be able to tell me in order. And then if I asked you, what do you feel like you need to work on?
Yeah, absolutely.
You would have an answer for that.
It's hard for a lot of people though to come into that sort of environment
Mhm.
and be that level of vulnerable from the get-go,
Mhm.
because one thing that I learned in my early pre-Vistage, pre-peer group
Mhm.
years of running a business is that if you're sitting across from somebody for a business meeting and you're at a coffee shop or a restaurant or whatever, and somebody says, well, how's it going really? The answer is great. You're always you're all You go to a function, you go do networking, you meet people, and it's always got to be great. We're sort of taught that it's not safe to be vulnerable as a business owner or as, somebody in that kind of a role, and it's tough the first time when you're sitting across from somebody and they say, well, you know, well, what is going wrong,
Mm.
and being able to answer that honestly is tough.
It is. And I think one of my red flags is blame.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a selection interview years ago with someone who, when I asked, what are the biggest challenges? Oh, I'm having trouble with my employees and direct reports, but I'm also having trouble with my board. Huh.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. It seems like you're the constant there. Where do you
Yes.
think your fingerprints might be? And I got one of these. Well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, what I mean, and I'm not blaming, but if you are the constant and you're having challenges, like where do you think that you may have contributed? And just like Stonewall, Stonewall, Stonewall did not invite. Like that's not going to work well. For me,
Right.
because we do deep work and there's a high level of accountability. So
Right.
if you can't handle that question with just two of us, you're not going to handle it with like 18 of us.
Yeah. And having to do that in front of a big room is harder.
It's so
What would you say is the thing that people get from being a Vistage member that maybe they're not expecting? Because I think a lot of people are expecting, okay, well, I'll get some good advice. There's going to be good speakers. I'm going to have this good coaching relationship with my chair.
Yep.
What's the valuable thing that people don't expect going in?
So my mom taught me this term. I think it comes from the recovery community called terminal uniqueness. And
Okay.
so she would tell me, I remember this clear as day. I had asked my crush to a Sadie Hawkins dance and he went with me and then he ended up making out with this other girl and I was crushed. And my mother like took a drag of her Kent King and she was like, nobody ever died of terminal uniqueness. And I was like, what does that even freaking mean? And what it means is like, we're not alone.
Right.
And so what I think Vistage members get that they don't expect is they walk into this room because so often you guys don't have friends or family that are CEOs or business owners and they just don't understand. And you sit in this room where somebody else needs to fire their CFO, where somebody else is having a challenging issue with an employee, where mom has dementia and you're trying to figure it out.
Right.
So it's this cure for terminal uniqueness.
I love that, and it just makes me think of. And I've worked in marketing for a long time, and I ran an agency for 18 years, and so I had the privilege of working with a lot of different kinds of businesses, and at the first meeting, everybody always tries to tell you that, well, hey, you got to understand coming in though that you're going to have to forget what you know about all those other businesses that you work with because we're different. And it's like, well, no, you're not. You're not. There are things that make you special, but the way that this business works is not unique. And the things that are going to bring you success are not unique. And I think that for a lot of us, it becomes an excuse and a reason to build a wall.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, we are running very short on time. So really quickly wanted to ask you, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you if they have questions about inspiration, if they have questions about how to join your Vistage group, or what you're going to tell them in chair school that's going to make them upset? any or all of those things. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably the best way to get in touch with me is via email. So Danielle.Baldwin@vistagechair.com. It's probably the best way.
Very cool. Thank you so much for being my guest. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. I also enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Chairwaves. You can subscribe to our feed using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your platform of choice. You can also visit chairwaves.com for more information. Chairwaves is hosted and produced by me, Eric Wolf, and to connect with me, you can visit my website at ewolf.live. That's EWOLF.live. And a disclaimer, while I love Vistage and CEO peer groups, this podcast is not owned by or affiliated with Vistage or any other peer organization. Thanks for listening.